On the surface, Helldivers looks a lot like all the other live service shooters, just not as predatory. But we all know this game is something more. Besides the meta-narrative forming around the game, what is making it so special? Why does it seem like everyone is playing this game? There are a few small design decisions that most shooters don't make that makes Helldivers unique. These small choices, on the surface, seem to be minor, but they make for a huge difference in how you play and interact with the game. What are these design choices, and ultimately, what do they do? They force you to be intentional with every action you take in the game. Let's dive in. In the era of the PS4, live service shooters became very popular with games like Destiny, The Division, Overwatch, and a few others. So many games today are trying to cash in on what now feels like a flailing genre. Then comes Helldivers, a game with a satirical bent stripped straight from Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers, with some excellent gunplay, chaotic combat, and enough fun to keep gamers up to the wee hours of the morning on a Friday night slaying bugs and automatons with their friends. No one was expecting this, not even Sony. Not that they're mad about it, but what is making this game so much fun? Why are players so attached? I want to focus on a couple of the mechanics that enable this entertaining as hell experience, and they all center around that singular idea of intentionality. Friendly fire sucks. I've always hated it in games. Except this game. Just about anything can and will kill you. You're just as likely to be trampled by a bug as you are to be blasted by your squad mate's ordnance, shot in the back of the head, or even crushed by your own evac if you're not careful. This game takes friendly fire to a hilarious extreme. It provides for some hysterical and wild moments during each mission. If this is a mechanic I and many others typically hate, why are we okay with it in Helldivers? First, it's hilarious. Second, it adds some calculated chaos. You quickly learn that the line between ally and enemy is as thin as a stray bullet or a poorly timed grenade throw. Friendly fire incidents lead to unexpected outcomes, from hilarious mishaps to tragic setbacks. It punishes carelessness and rewards communication, situational awareness, and precise coordination. It also adds depth to the gameplay, encouraging you to think twice before unleashing your arsenal. Whether it's placing turrets with foresight or calling out stratagems to avoid collateral damage, you gotta adapt your strategies in real time, considering the positions and potential actions of your teammates. Friendly fire ensures that no two missions feel the same. You must navigate the dual threats of enemy forces and accidental ally damage, leading to a dynamic and ever-evolving battlefield. This unpredictability keeps the game fresh and engaging, as you are constantly learning from your mistakes. One of the questions game designers have to ask themselves is what information do they share with the player, and how do they share it? Part of your perception of the game feel is based on what you know exactly. Helldivers takes a little bit of liberty of how they provide some of the game's info to you, especially with ammo count. Just about every other shooter provides you with an exact ammo count, typically shown as how many rounds you have loaded in the weapon and how many more you can load into the weapon. Gears of War and Halo take a little leeway with this idea by providing a graphical bullet count. You really only become aware of the exact amount when you have a few left, and it's easy to count with a quick glance at the corner of your screen. Helldivers gives you no such count. Instead, you only have magazine count. How full your magazine is displayed like a health bar. If you click the right stick, you can check the amount of rounds you have, but you're not going to be habitually doing that in the middle of battle. It gets in the way of combat. So now you're no longer focused on the exact number of rounds in your gun anymore. You can't readily see it. The devs also changed how reloading works. If you still have some ammo left in a mag and you reload before empty, you lose those rounds. Similarly, if you accidentally hit reload with a full magazine, you lose the entire mag. I've made that mistake a time or two. This completely changes your relationship to ammo. It's no longer how many rounds do I have, it's how many magazines do I have. You're no longer concerned with always reloading to keep maximum amount of rounds in your gun. You're going to empty a clip before you reload to maximize the rounds you do have. Also, reloading has to be done manually. A lot of shooters will auto-reload the moment you're empty. Helldivers, the gun just clicks. While frustrating at first, it gives you a greater degree of choice. If you're in a jam and you empty your mag, you have the decision to make. Take time to reload, or quickly swap to your sidearm to get out of the jam. For a game that is a living cartoon, it adds quite a bit of realism and immersion that other shooters have chosen to ignore. It also forces you to be more intentional with your planning. You finished an encounter. You've got a few rounds left in your mag, but not many. You don't know exactly how much. Do you keep the mag and risk running out at an inopportune time? Or do you reload, losing those last few rounds for the safety of knowing you got 30 rounds ready to go in your next encounter should you get swarmed? Helldivers has an interesting way of dealing with special abilities. Most other games of its ilk would set it to one or both of the shoulder bumpers, with only having access to 3 or 4 abilities, depending how they're mapped with the controller. Helldivers still just gives you 4, but they do it in an interesting and meaningful way with the stratagems. There are a few stratagems that every squadmate has access to for the mission. You then get to personally pick 4 to bring with you that you can call down from your ship, from support weapons to orbital bombardments. The way you call for these is by holding down L1, and instead of a weapon wheel type select screen, your Helldiver brings up his wrist and a list of stratagems and their codes appear on your screen. You then have to put in the right code and then throw the stratagem to call down the support you want. It feels kind of like putting in the Konami code almost. Some codes are short and quick. Others take a moment to plug in, and once in, you still need to deploy the request like a grenade. It's not automatic. To be quick, you need to know, and I mean know, your stratagem codes. For new players, there's a learning curve. Like for myself, at the moment I'm still just a level 6 cadet. But on the harder difficulties, you better have those suckers committed to memory. This once again leads to what the game demands of the player in every aspect: intentionality. You have to be intentional with how you use these stratagems. Even when you deploy them, you gotta be careful not to hit an ally with a falling pod full of supplies. Likewise though, you could have a resupply act as an orbital strike to crush some enemies while getting more health and ammo at the same time, so this can work both ways. But once again, the way this mechanic is set up supports that main theme of the moment-by-moment gameplay of Helldivers 2. Every game wants the player to make intentional, well-crafted decisions, but most don't require the player to have just about every choice be this intentional. The design trend for shooters is to help the player out at times, like auto-reload if they run out of ammo in the middle of a firefight, have abilities deployed with a quick press of a button for fast action, or even have a dedicated button for quick grenade throws without switching weapons. Helldivers goes old school and wants you to switch to and from grenades manually. This game doesn't take care of anything for you. You are fully responsible for all aspects of your actions at all times. You're an adult. You have to watch where you're shooting. Be mindful of your ammo capacity in a way most other shooters don't require of you. And with special abilities, you have to not only watch the cooldown timer, but know the exact code to call it down. To be successful in Helldivers, you have to be intentional. The game demands it from you. It's also what makes it so fun. The game is very clear what the rules are, and when things go awry, it's your fault. Mostly. Sometimes a sentry gun is gonna sentry gun, and sometimes physics are gonna physics. But for the most part, you are in control of your own outcomes. You play things right, you're gonna come out with a successful mission and some bonus objectives meant to provide upgrades to your arsenal. But if you're reckless, you're gonna get got. In Helldivers, this intentionality makes the game great. You're in control of your own destiny, and when things go well, it feels really, really good. And when things spiral out of control, and they can very quickly if you're not careful, it's still just as fun. Because you know it's your own damn fault for the most part, and the times it's not, well, it can still be hilarious.